Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host Lucy McPhee. The Spyro Reignited Trilogy has just been released, which includes the first 3 games in the Spyro series, Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage, and Year of the Dragon. So what better way to honor this release than to descend into the dark interwebs to explore some of the best Spyro creepypastas. Now, I've only included a handful as this list would be 10 hours long otherwise, but don't hesitate to leave your favorite Spyro creepypastas in the comments down below if they didn't make it onto our list. Alright, let's jump in. Now, this creepypasta begins with a warning from the author, stating that if you don't want your childhood ruined, perhaps don't proceed. As we all know though, we at Top 10 Gaming love to ruin your childhood through any means possible, so of course we proceeded. The user details playing some Spyro New Beginning with his girlfriend. The startup screen was great, some jump scares here and there, as well as blood, because of course. However, when they got to the home screen they started glitching out, and all they could see was Spyro.exe, so they clicked on it. Everything started off fine, but things quickly began to get a little weird. Backwards writing pops up on the screen, specifically this, aka, it was my fault. There was also crying sounds, but realistic crying, coming from a red dragon that was crying blood and was gradually decaying. Creepy. As he died, a bloody egg dropped, and a note read this, aka, take care of him. Creeped out by this, they continued on anyway, but the game once again began to glitch out, crashing the game completely. It restarted, but this time the home screen revealed Spyro hatching out of an egg with half of his head blown off. Perhaps the rumors are true about the curse of the Spyro New Beginning. This next creepypasta comes from an unknown user who talks about buying a copy of Spyro Year of the Dragon off of eBay. When it arrived, his friend came over, they loaded it into his PS2 and waited. Before continuing though, they found a letter. It read, "Don't play it. Throw it out, snap it in half, do anything but don't play it. I'm warning you, the thing is after me." So spooky. Our user was hesitant to play, but his friend encouraged him anyway. So, of course, they played it. Everything was normal at first, the title screen had Spyro and the dragon egg, but then the game froze, glitching and then revealing Spyro with bloody fangs. And instead of press start, it said press start if you dare. They of course pressed start. However, they were forced to play as Cinder, but Cinder wasn't playable until much further down the line. Everything was fine for a while, they ran around as Cinder, the background was normal, there were even sheep. Yay. But then the game glitched again, revealing a bloody Cinder and Spyro laughing, but with an evil, menacing laugh. Spyro then turned to the screen and said, "Who's next?" They immediately took the game out, snapping it in half, but they were too late. The user's friend became possessed by Spyro, and Cinder appeared right beside them. Spyro then transformed into a dragon, killing the user's friend, but before Spyro could get to him, Cinder lunged, sending Spyro back to the hell in which he came from. Cinder then looked at the user and just smiled. In the same vein as our other creepypastas, this user details how he discovered an old copy of his Spyro 1 demo. He loaded it into his PS1 that he had clung onto, and it loaded up. However, it wasn't how they remembered it. Everything seemed a little darker, and the intro was slightly different. Instead of Spyro flying in and torching an enemy, they were met with flashes of waterfalls turning blood red for a few seconds and then immediately purple before turning back to normal. Considering it was an old game, he figured it was just an error, and he hit start. However, Spyro wasn't his usual jolly self. His face was a mix between happy and scared, and he even shed a tear. Poor guy. He proceeded on, encountering a dragon as normal, but the lines were slightly different. The dragon said he would see him in another world, and then it flew away. The player continued on anyway, collecting gems and setting off to free some dragons. He then encountered a second one, but this one gave him odd advice, stating, "Don't be afraid of falling from high mountain peaks, plummeting into prehistoric glaciers, crashing through rough terrain, severely painful death." Creepy. Continuing on, the player went to battle some enemies. Slaying them, they didn't poof away like they usually do. They just laid there, on the floor, in a pool of blood. At this point the player was starting to get nervous. I mean, I got real nervous way before this, but whatever, to each their own. He paused the game for a bit, but instead of the classic pause screen, it was blue and staticky, with only one option. Continue, and it also said his lives were at 0. After a short break he resumed the game, but Spyro wouldn't move, and after a few moments began to move on his own and uttered in a whisper, "Why?" The player tried to pause the game again, but this time Spyro turned to look at him directly, stating, "Leaving again? Am I nothing to you? You liked my personality, how cool I was, so why did you leave for what felt like forever? Because of you, I lost all of it. My emotions, my heart, my friend. Even the dragon eggs are smashed. I am cursed to remain unfinished in this demo. No one plays demos anymore. I am glad you could see what I have become. A shell. A shadow of what I was before I go. Then the game ended and turned off. Our final creepypasta comes from a DeviantArt user, ShadowDragon5150. They begin by talking about how Spyro had always been their favourite game growing up, and how the purple dragon had always lifted their spirits when they were down. They had just finished a game when they uncovered their original copy of Spyro, so they decided to load it up in their PlayStation to see if it still worked. It did, but it immediately glitched and then faded out abruptly. The normal scene started up though. Spyro appeared flying around, charging at a Nork, but instead of knocking it aside, this time Spyro impaled the Nork with its horns. Blood flew off Spyro's horns, covering the screen. The startup menu then popped up, as though nothing had ever happened. They hit start anyway, because apparently gamers these days don't think anything of a casual impalement. The game started and things instantly became weird. The first crystal dragon they encountered was beheaded, his head laying next to its body, and blood spilling out of its neck. Walking Spyro over to a platform, a message flashed up from the dead dragon. Spyro. No more. Please. Spyro. Another dragon then appeared, its head almost completely torn off of its body. Spyro then spoke, saying, "I do what I want." The dragon then floated away. Finally freaked out by this, the player put their controller down, and Spyro began taking over. He flew over to another platform where the second dragon was laying. It too was beheaded. Another message appeared. "Don't kill me, Spyro. Just let Sparks protect you." Spyro responded, "Sparks can't protect me from the hatred I feel." Spyro then turned as though looking directly at the player. They immediately shut off their PlayStation, opting to play Sly Cooper: Honor Among Thieves instead. They had one more mission in the game left to complete, so they clicked on it. The title was The Purple Dragon. Curious. They started the mission anyway. The characters in the game began discussing how something entered the Cooper vault last night, and that they believe it's still in there. Red eyes began to appear on screen, and then the characters became aware of them. The character then ran towards the screen, communicating with the player directly, saying, "Don't just sit there and stare, get me out of here." Out of the cave, Spyro emerged, grabbing one of the characters and pulling him away. He yelled at the player, addressing them by name, screaming, "Help, Hannah!" The screen then went black and a message appeared that read, "You're next, Hannah. You cannot escape my curse. All who can get in between us will suffer." Hannah immediately unplugged her PlayStation before Spyro came through her bedroom door, breathing fire into her face, killing her. Well, there we have it. Those were some of our favourite Spyro creepypastas in honour of the release of Spyro Reignited Trilogy. You guys gonna buy it? What's your favourite Spyro game? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2 of this list. If you were a fan of this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another gaming vid. And until next time, see you later.